No one showed up to veteran Frank Mallory's funeral. No family, no friends, just silence. But just as the casket began to lower, an old German shepherd limped out of the woods. He sat beside the grave. He didn't bark, he didn't cry, he just stayed. Turns out, that wasn't just any dog. That was the only soul who remembered Frank. And what happened next? It shook the whole town, and the entire internet. And Frank Mallory didn't take up much space in the world anymore. Just a third-floor apartment in a plain, aging brick building on the edge of town. No plants in the windowsill, no family photos on the fridge. The only sound in his place was the faint tick of an old wall clock. And sometimes the radio, turned low, playing old jazz or baseball games from stations far away. Frank was 78, a Vietnam veteran. Bronze Star, Purple Heart. He didn't talk about the war, not because he was angry. He just figured people didn't really want to know. These days, most folks couldn't tell you the difference between Korea and Kandahar, much less where Hue City was. He walked with a limp, left leg stiff from an old injury, and used a cane that was more worn than he was. Every morning at 6 o'clock sharp, he made a mug of black coffee, no sugar, sat on the same stool at the kitchen counter, and at 7:15 he shuffled downstairs and walked 2 blocks to the corner store. Bought a paper, a pack of spearmint gum, and a tin of beef stew. Always the same. The store clerk, a kid named Marcus, once asked him, "Don't you ever get bored, Mr. Mallory?" Frank gave a half smile. "Boredom means you've got too much time to think. I don't have that problem." He always left a bowl of fresh water just outside the front steps of the building. No one knew why. Some assumed it was for strays or maybe a neighborhood cat. Frank never explained it. He never said much of anything, but people noticed when he stopped showing up. 3 days passed without him buying his paper. On the 4th morning, the landlord, a middle-aged guy named Howard, used his spare key and let himself in. Frank was in his recliner, eyes closed, chin resting on his chest, remote still in his hand. He looked peaceful. The room was spotless. His uniform, folded sharp and pressed, lay on the bed. Next to it a letter, and on the small table beside the recliner was an envelope marked in black ink. "If anyone asks, I served, that's all." Howard didn't know what to do. There was no emergency contact, no family in the system, no known friends. The VA took care of the paperwork. A government-issued funeral was scheduled. A single notice was printed and taped to the building lobby. Frank Mallory's burial will be held Tuesday at 10 o'clock a.m., Hillcrest Military Cemetery. No one pulled it down. No one circled the date. No one planned to go. To the tenants in the building, Frank had always just been the quiet guy in 3B. Kind, neat, alone. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that someone had been waiting for Frank all along. And he wasn't human. Hillcrest Military Cemetery was quiet that Tuesday morning. Just a light breeze brushing the dry grass, and the distant hum of a highway no one cared to look at. Rows of white stones stood like silent sentinels, stretching into the trees. A folding canopy had been set up. 2 chairs. A small speaker on a metal stand. A plain brown casket rested on a mechanical lift. It was draped with a clean American flag, crisp, folded at the corners, not a wrinkle on it. The funeral director checked his watch. 10:01 a.m. No cars, no mourners, no family. Just 2 cemetery workers and a VA representative waiting to get it over with. "Should we go ahead?" one of the workers asked quietly. But before the director could nod, someone saw movement near the tree line. At first, it looked like a coyote, or maybe a deer, but it wasn't. It was a dog, a German shepherd, older, slow-moving. His fur was patchy around the hips, muzzle dusted with gray. One of his back paws dragged slightly in the grass. He limped, but with purpose. He wasn't sniffing or searching. He was headed straight for the casket. Everyone stopped, watched. The dog approached the grave and sat down beside it. Not randomly, not like a stray wandering through. He faced the coffin and sat still, perfectly still. Head high, chest out, ears low, not alert, but respectful. Like he'd done this before, like he understood what it meant. The VA rep stepped forward slowly. Where'd he come from? No one answered. The shepherd didn't bark, didn't make a sound. Just sat watching the casket. Occasionally he'd glance at the flag, then look away like it hurt too much. They started the service. The speaker played a soft version of taps. No names were said, just a final salute. The dog didn't flinch at the gunfire, 3 blank rounds fired in the traditional military send-off. He didn't twitch when the flag was lifted and folded, but when they began to lower the casket, he moved. He stood, stiffly, legs shaking, and stepped forward, carefully, deliberately. He touched the edge of the flag with his nose, just once. Then he laid down beside the grave and rested his head against the earth. The cemetery workers had no idea what to do. "Let him stay," one whispered. So they did. Long after the service ended and the folding chairs were packed, the dog stayed. Hours passed. The wind picked up. The sun dipped behind the trees. He didn't move. He wasn't waiting for someone to come back. He was staying because he knew someone was gone. Emily Torres was never supposed to cover funerals. At least, not the kind with no guests and no headlines. She was 32, a part-time reporter for the Jackson Valley Gazette, mostly stuck writing local fluff. 4th of July parades, new library hours, the occasional missing cat. She'd gone to school dreaming of frontline journalism, war zones, corruption, injustice. But now, she was just trying to keep her job. That Tuesday, she was in the office sorting through press releases when a coworker named Drew leaned over her cubicle wall. "Hey, you like weird stories, right?" he said. "Check this out." He handed her a blurry phone photo, a coffin, a folded flag, a German shepherd sitting beside it, no leash, no people, just the dog. Emily frowned. "Where is this?" "Military cemetery up by Hillcrest. Someone's granddad, maybe. No one showed, except that dog." That was all it took. By 3 p.m., Emily was standing at the cemetery gate, notebook in hand, camera bag slung over her shoulder. She didn't expect anyone to still be there. She figured the moment was gone. But he was still there. The German shepherd. Curled in the dirt beside the fresh grave, fur dusted from the breeze. The flag had been removed. The headstone wasn't carved yet, just a small metal stake that read, "Mallory, Frank, U.S. Army." The dog lay with his nose touching the earth. His eyes were half closed. He didn't get up, didn't even look at her. Emily approached slowly, crouching a few feet away. "Hey, boy," she whispered. "You knew him, didn't you?" Still nothing. A groundskeeper nearby told her the story. The dog had walked in from the woods just before the service. Sat through the whole thing. Never left. Emily took a single photo. One clean, wide shot, no filters, no edits. When she got back to the newsroom, she posted it to the Gazette's site with a short caption. "No one came to Frank Mallory's funeral, except this dog. He sat by the grave for 6 hours." She didn't expect much. She went home, made tea, put on a movie. By the time she checked her phone at midnight, the post had been shared 42,000 times. By morning, the photo was everywhere. Emily's inbox was overflowing. So was the paper's voicemail. National outlets picked it up. CNN, The Today Show, even international news. People weren't just reading, they were feeling. Comment after comment poured in. My grandpa died alone too. This broke me. Dogs don't forget who showed them love. This hero deserved better. Within 48 hours, strangers from across the country were calling Hillcrest Cemetery asking if they could send flowers. Others offered to pay for a proper headstone. A retired Marine offered to adopt the dog. But no one could claim him. Not officially. That's when they started piecing it together. The dog had a faded collar, no tags, but worn leather. A vet tech who saw the photo recognized a scar on the dog's right side. She pulled an old record, K9 unit, Shadow, assigned handler, Frank Mallory. Years ago, Frank had volunteered with a local security outfit for veterans transitioning out of service. Shadow had been his partner. When the program shut down, no one knew what happened to the dog until now. Turns out, Shadow had gone missing during a thunderstorm almost 3 years earlier. Fireworks spooked him. They searched for weeks. Everyone assumed he was lost or dead. But he wasn't. He'd been looking for Frank, and when he finally found him, it was at the end. 2 weeks later, Hillcrest held another funeral. This time, it was standing room only. Over 100 people gathered, neighbors, veterans, local school kids, people who had driven hundreds of miles just to say thank you. There were flowers, speeches, folded flags, full honors. Emily gave a short reading from the letter found in Frank's apartment. If anyone asks, I served, that's all. Shadow was there too. Not on a leash, not in a crate. He sat at the same spot beside the grave, calm and still. Just like before. This time, though, someone knelt beside him. A young soldier. He placed a service pin on Frank's headstone and whispered, You weren't forgotten, brother. The cemetery installed a second marker beside Frank's. It read, Shadow, loyal partner, silent guardian. He showed up when no one else did. Weeks later, Shadow was adopted by Emily. She brought him home to her quiet house just outside of town. She'd never owned a dog before, but it felt right. He's slower now, sleeps most of the day. But every Sunday, she drives him back to Hillcrest. He walks to the same spot, lays down next to the stone, and stays there, until the sun begins to set.